YouTube, Facebook. What's going on? It's Coach J again. We back at it. We got a great guest with us here on tonight. Somebody who is a specialist in their craft. I'm Coach J, and he has the honor and pleasure to be Coach Moore because of what his craft is, what his passion is, and what his contribution is in the earth, and what his contribution is to young people. Me and him, we've been knowing each other probably, I don't know, 15, 20 years, something like
Yeah,
that.
about 20, well, 20 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
we get old.
yeah, we definitely getting old. But what we're gonna have some good conversation today, talking about student athletes, talking about what our young people need and what can the community do to help our young student athletes, our young students that are in high school. What can the community do? What can families do? What can parents do? And again, how you doing, Yolanda? Again, this platform is designed to really bridge the gaps that exist in young people's lives to help them overcome barriers and obstacles that may exist in their life. So again, Coach Jay, I'm gonna turn it over to Coach Moore to introduce himself, and then we're gonna jump right in.
Well, like Coach Jay said, I'm Coach Roosevelt Moore. Actually, I coach in Alabama, high school here. Head football, basketball coach, athletic director, and a business owner. And I try to strive to tell young people, no matter what you want to do in life, you have to work at your craft, work hard in school. You just got to do what you have to do. Because like Coach Jay said, we went to college together. And I remember us, we first got on campus as roommates. We looked up and noticed we wasn't far apart from our hometown. And
Yeah,
our parents actually ended up knowing each other and grew up. And we went to church together. So, but one thing I can say, we did a lot of things. We hit those books. We spent countless hours in that library.
yeah, yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't know is that it is about hard work. It's about putting in that time, and all of that time we spent in the library. It didn't take away from us having fun because we did that big time too. And so
That's right.
I want young people to know, like, taking care of your business first is not going to prevent you from having fun and enjoying life. It's actually going to make it more satisfying and better to know that you got your business taken care of when you're out there having fun. So, Coach Moore, now you mentioned some. I don't want to let that just slide in. Now you mentioned you're an athletic director, coach. You coach basketball, football. I mean, you had a run throughout the state. Tell us what kind of high schools, as it relates to 3A, 4A, what different experiences you had at those levels of coaching high school.
Well, I've had experience all the way from 1 through 6. A well, what it does to me, the lower level you go, the more work it is. A lot of people don't realize that the higher the school, bigger the school, to me, it's lesser work because you got more resources and more people around you to take that load off.
Got it.
So the lower level you get and more experience, you have to be in all areas because it's easier to me to go to a larger area and have those resources and personnel around you to make a lot of things happen.
I got it. So it sounds like from what you're saying, if you had a 5A, 6A school, that school has the great facilities. They have good boosters. They have all of the technology, the equipment. They have the funds for the equipment, the coaching staff. But when you get down to the 1A, 2A, you having to really probably build and tap into your community to have a great program to offer to the young people. Is that correct?
That is correct, and by doing so, you have to try to reach out to the community more when you're at a smaller level and larger level too. But it's just a lot more work behind the scenes than a lot of people actually realize.
Right.
The community bond that you have to have a relationship with those communities is very big. It's very big, and the upkeep and the growing of your student athletes in your school.
Now you mentioned the growing of the student athletes, so I'm gonna ask you a couple questions about student athletes, and I just want to get your, your opinion as it relates to student athletes. What, if anything, is lacking the most with young athletes working to make it to the next level?
Well, I truly think it's support.
Okay.
I feel like as a community, we need to push our kids and get behind them. The parents need to support them. If there's not the parent support there, people like me and you as myself, we have to continue to strive and feed into our young people. Just everybody we just can't throw them aside. We have to continue to push and let our young people be great.
Now you mentioned support from parents and from the community. Give us an example of what when you see support when it comes to an athlete, what that looks like, and then what it doesn't look like. How does that show up on the field and in their work?
You can see it developing and happen because I have them on my team. I have some have parent support. You can tell. I have some that's adopted parents, and they want to reach out to their mothers that have abandoned them. I'm going through a situation like that with one of my guys. And I had to tell another kid that today. I said he has a story. The other kid didn't quite understood till today. This kid, had to go home, and they said, well, you gonna let him come back? I said, well, he could be great. We have to push him. And they understood that until I explained. I said he wanted his mom to come pick him up, the biological mom, but he could not. She could not by court. So the mother that they thought was his adopted mother. Mm-hmm. We've never seen his father before, and I don't know if he has. But the thing about it, when your adopted parents always want to say, well, I'm going to see you off, I'm going to get rid of you, that feeds into a kid's head that nobody cares, so they're act out. So I'm facing the point now where he's acting out versus then everybody should be trying to embrace this young man versus the other kid I was trying to explain it to. He has parent support at home. So then he was starting to understand where certain kids come from. As a community, we have to understand that. That's why it's big to get involved in community support, even if it's just part of recreation. I'm going through a process now where we're trying to build a park and recreation up near my school. Yeah. Because one thing about it, that gives our kids an opportunity for number one, renewal, number two, growth, and then we want to enrich our kids. So to me, that's what the angle I'm headed to direction as right now.
I like some of that terminology you use, especially that enrichment, and young people can get enrichment from a lot of sources. Now, and then to talk about bringing parks and recreations in it to have the community blend in with the school and what the school has to offer. So there's no difference when you look at the school facilities and the facilities that the park and recreation have, the city has. They can offer the same thing. So when school is not in, young people can still get what they need in the park and recreation aspect of the town. Now, when it comes to support, what does a parent look like? One of your most supportive parents and families, what does that look like? If you had to say, okay, these are the attributes of a supportive parent as it relates to supporting their child, what does that look like, the attributes?
Well, you can tell a difference in the support, number one, the makeup of a kid and the way he walk, talk, and dress. But there's no excuse for anyone if we pull together, band together, and support our kids. Because I was in a study in August, this lady, true story. She told a story and she wrote a book, a novel. She wrote a book, and it was more than a bird. And I didn't quite understand the title. Yeah. It said more than a bird. And the more she told that story, the more it touched me to become a better person. Because long story short, she grew up in a foster home, bouncing around. She was a little kid, and her parents had a lot of money, had a lot of food, but they was drug dealers. But all that came to an end when she was little. And when the cops came and picked up her parents, now she was bouncing around. And men took advantage and neglected her as a little girl. And she would shelter herself. And she said one thing stood out of her. She had this elementary teacher who put a round around her and said, baby, you could be great. You could be more than a bird. You could go as high as you want to go. And so she fed belief into that little girl that she kept believing in herself. And she said, baby, the best thing you do is, she said, what can I do? She said, read. She said, read as much as you can. She said she wanted to read so much, she read the whole encyclopedia. She went to reading Bibles. She made her reading the Bible from the front to the back, and she went to reading novels. And so, long story short, that she never forgot what that lady told her, our teacher. She said, be more than a bird. That right there kept her all the way through elementary school when they thought she was slow. And she said she began to read and learn that she became the teacher's pet. And she said, I was just so want to be my teacher's pet because I want to feel love. I felt love. So she did everything she could to just be felt love. And you know what she said? She said that carried her all the way through elementary school, high school, and college, where she now is a lawyer, attorney, that she represents many cases, and she have youth home that she minister and talk to kids, and she's an attorney. Now that is an amazing story.
Yeah, you said something that lady gave her hope. You know, speaking of hope, you know, like what hope do you give your young people? Because like it's when a parent or family don't show up to support, and the young people still want to be a young person still want to be great academically and on the field. What hope do you give them that you plant in them that keeps them focused to be able to realize that they can make it no matter if they look in the stand and nobody there? What hope do you pump into them?
You know what? That's a good idea. My recommendation is simple. And I'm gonna take my own advice once I get off of this live. I challenge anybody watching this video, this live, when you get off here, pick up that phone, call anybody you may think of that can use some encouraging words. So when I get off here, I'm gonna call that young man and I'm gonna talk to him and ask him how's it been going, because he's been out of school right now for 2 days, getting in trouble again. And I'm gonna call him and ask him how's it doing, and people thinking about it. We thinking about it. And if you're watching this, you know anybody that could be more than a bird. Just pick up the phone and see what difference it may make in a young person's life.
Wow! So you connect with your young people, your team in an intimate way, showing them love, embracing them, speaking into their life. Now let me ask you this question right here: what issues do you see off the court, off the field, that worry you about young people? What issues off the court, off the field,
you know what?
that worry you about your student athletes?
As a coach and a parent, and I'm in the school system, parents, I tell parents, people in the community, I could write a book. The most thing I see is when the parents hug your kids, be around them, have a conversation. Coach J, I know you have a conversation with your boy. But too many of our parents, grandparents, we're not in tune with our kids because vaping is very serious right now. Vaping is drugs and alcohol. You can live about 5 more vapes, drugs, and alcohol on kids now than I've ever seen since I've been on this earth.
Wow.
It's getting serious. Like it's doing something to our kids. They're trying to do grown up things and they're not ready. I've watched kids come to school from hangover they had the night before that the parents or the grandparents knew something was wrong. They came through the door. And they can't spill it over to the school bus.
Right.
Being irate to the school, they had to go home.
Right.
We have to talk to our kids, continue to encourage them to stay off of the drugs, the vape, and the alcohol, and it don't cost you anything to be respectful. teach your kids, be respectful, be nice to people. It don't cost you anything. It'll carry you a long way.
So it sounds like you're saying that parents, as a start, one thing that parents in the community can do is to be actively involved, to be engaging, and to know what's going on in your child's life, to have an understanding. Because, like you said, if you come to school drunk and on a hangover, the 9 times out of 10 you was in the house that way. And if you were in the house that way, somebody knew you were in the house that way. And so it makes me wonder, if what our parents doing. I know we can be busy. I know parents may go to sleep, but do you really sleep that hard to where when your child come in at maybe midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning, that you don't hear the doors, you don't wake up? And even how do you rest knowing that your child could possibly be out that late at night and don't know what they're engaging
in? And that's true. So what parents need to do too is that old saying, Coach J, you heard that when you play with trash, trash get in your eye. Now, you let your child play with some wolves, some lions and tigers. You know what might happen.
Yeah.
They go if they come back, they're wounded, or even may not come back.
Right.
They may be eaten, scratched if they're lucky enough. So be careful who your kids are around on a daily basis. You see trouble or bring them home, sit them down. The coach, I know you sit down, you eat with your son, right? Correct. Yep. And I do the same. You see this table right here, man, right, that little boy, he's in there keeping noise. He ain't gonna stay still long. He sits here daily, and he eats his food, and he number 2. I talk to him. My daughter, she's single. I talk to her. Now, as a parent or a grandparent, ask yourself, do you sit down at the table with your child? Do you talk to them? Do you have conversations? When the last time have you sat down with your child and just had a conversation? Or do y'all eat in different rooms or on the car and the door? Because see, at some point, you need to start thinking about that and sit down with these young people and talk with them. Because a lot of times the coaches, the teachers are spending more time with these kids than the parents are.
Yeah, that's a good. So it sounds like a couple things I hear you saying is, make sure you season every opportunity and every moment that you can as a parent to engage your children, whether you're sitting on the porch, sitting in the backyard, sitting at the table, riding in the car. I think technology is great. And I also believe it has to have balance, because we don't want to substitute our child being in the house and safe, but on the game with that we're spending quality time. That's not quality time. And just like a farmer goes out and cultivate the ground to plant seeds, we have to do the same thing. And a farmer takes time cultivating that ground. They invest in that ground. So when they plant seeds in that ground, it can grow. And we have to do the same thing in the lives of our young people. We have to cultivate the ground and plant the seeds. And it takes time.
It does. And we have to be smarter than our kids. I'm going to say this again. As parents or grandparents or community people, we have to be smarter than our youth. Now, I'm explaining one simple task. You got a kid at home big enough to get into things that they shouldn't do. Besides sitting down eating at the table with your child, do the small thing. Go ahead and clean their room. Say, no, it's a mess. Don't just walk by, clean that room, it's junky, and keep going. Some of you have never been in your child's room, I probably promise you, in about a month.
Yeah.
Go in there and just say, let's clean it up. You might find some stuff.
You may find something.
You might stumble across stuff you may not know. Because I heard a kid told me the other day. He said, Coach, I got a weapon, but I don't care to use it unless I have to. My mama don't know, got me a gun pistol. I've been having it. Sometimes, I hide. I'm like, whoa, I never conversation. That conversation happened today. Matter of fact, today. You'll be amazing conversation I have. I told you, I didn't give a conversation about that. So, and then one of them told me, I got a lock on my room, because my mama can call me, she can't get in my room, but, I said, well, your mama get you with that lock. No, she ain't. Okay. I'm like Friday. When that dude throwing that girl across his shoulder, he would have squeezed her butt. See, no locked door. Hey, you know what? At my house, man, we ain't locked.
We don't lock no doors.
No doors. So go what? Go in there and say, let's clean this room up. Let me help you, baby. And they'll tell you might find, I hope you don't, but you might stumble across baits, weapons, and everything. But guess what? You might be heading out trouble. Yeah. Your child might be going to go out and commit a crime with that same gun or knife that you just stumbled across. Right. Just this week, we had 5 young men go out and shoot 40 rounds and they got arrested. And 2 weeks ago, a couple of young guys was shooting in a vehicle, occupied vehicle, and then one of them hit a guy in the shoulder. So guess what? Imagine those parents spent time sitting down with their kids. Imagine if those parents, hey, maybe let him be clean your room up. I bet you sometime that gun that they may stumble across to save their child life from being in prison or jail or save your kid or somebody.
Now,
and guess what? Even if they're in the vehicle, even if your child in the vehicle, let's go to the car wash, everything. Let's definitely this thing out. You may stumble across some hidden items in the glove compartment.
That's a good strategy. I like that. I really like that, especially if parents, if you got teenagers. And when I say that, I'm talking about 11 years old and older, because they starting to get into things a lot young. I was reading an article out of Atlanta today, and it was talking about a 13-year-old was manufactured a weapon from beginning to end and shot his older sister. And I'm asking myself, just like you saying, where was he at, and how was he able to do that, and no adult knew he was doing that? You see what I'm saying?
Whole process. Now you know that had to take more than one day.
Right, exactly. But it's like you said, like how many parents are like, go clean your room. Is your room clean? They just peek in. You know, they don't want to go in and get cussed out or have their child fuss at them because, Mommy, why you in my room? What you doing? This is my room. You in my privacy. And like you said, we're having the doors locked in. I seen another article where a young lady was on these gaming systems and she met somebody and got kidnapped from Florida and took all the way to North Carolina. So it's so many things that parents have to be privy on. And like you said, there's an education gap. There's an information gap that parents have to be willing to work through to even understand what's going on and what is accessible and available to their children, right? If your child know more about TikTok than you do, then you behind the curve. If your child know how to access technology and you don't, you behind the curve. They can tell you, well, Mama, this is just an app. And if you're not willing to put in the time to figure it out, to sit there with them, like, show me that, then guess what? They could be talking and communicating with anybody. So I got another question for you. How can parents in the community contribute to making school programs and students better? Like if I came to you as a parent and said, hey, Coach, what can I do to help the students, to help the school, to help the program? What would you tell me?
Be visible. Number one, about like we touched on, be visible. If you got more voices, positive voices around, be visible. Even if there's nothing for you to do, show your face, offer support. If it's only just passing out Gatorade water or passing out a flyer, go around the school or the community, wherever your kids involved at, and be visible. You'll be amazed what that would do to a child. That's my mama here. That's my dad. That's my uncle. Yeah. And then your child may not be down the road at a store with riding the car with 5 other boys and stuff because he knows you may show up at any moment, but he's waiting on that because he's proud. So my advice to you, be visible.
Be visible. Man, listen, that's a whole powerful word right there. It's simple, but it's so many things that went off in my head when you said be visible. What came to my mind is, I don't know if you've seen it, and you probably have, these fathers down in, I think it was Mississippi or New Orleans, somewhere in Louisiana. They had a bunch of fights at school, and these dads got together, and they went and started walking through the hallway of the schools. And it was just their presence. They were being visible. They didn't put their hands on. They didn't put their hands on students. It's just their presence and being visible calmed all that down, man. They showed up to the principal administration and said, listen, we're a group of dads. Our kids go to school here. Our loved ones go to school here. What can we do? And they just like monitors, hallway monitors, you dads walk them halls, and it ceased.
Yeah. And that's right. And I like to use terminology where these kids can understand. go back to what we said earlier, like the rapper, the Notorious B.I.G., that movie he played in. And he was in school, skipping school, and was selling drugs, and the police could have came into that home. But the mom used to clean his room, even get his clothes up. So he went at home that day, and she was cleaning off under the bed. He had this big old tray. She called and she was like, when he came home, she said, "What are you doing all that baking soda in the bed and all that powder and stuff?" And he went to going crazy. "There ain't no baking soda. There ain't no powder." He slapped me out in the face there. And she looked. She said, "Oh, what do you mean up at the drawer?" She said, "You don't bring that in my house with my door." See, right there. She was a parent that sat down, told the child, "Go ahead and clean the room," and all of that. So, but at the same token, let's be proactive a little earlier. Because at that point in that movie, it had been going on so long that she just got a hold of it. As parents, as community, let's head this thing off before it gets too far out of hand. And like we said, be visible. And I applaud those dads and stuff. Sometimes people expect for you to be physically bad and angry. Just be visible sometimes will create a cool, calm atmosphere.
Right. And it's I think about the same way as our government. Like our government should represent the people in the city, in the state, whatever. It's the same way with the school. If I'm a citizen in that area, then the school should meet the needs of everybody in that community. And so I want to have some skin in the game, and I want to ask parents, don't just show up when you want to go up there to the school and go off. Go up there and be visible. Go up there to the parent-teacher conferences. Volunteer when the school is having something, so that, like Coach Moore said, when your child see you and when your child friends see you, they know, like, okay, that's such and such mom, or that's such and such dad. I was at the park with my son while he was playing, and I'm not one that's just gonna let my kid run through the neighborhood. We're not doing, not in 2021. We're not doing that. Dad, I may be running around the park, jogging or riding my bike or something. I'm gonna be out there, making sure things are right. And I think as parents, we have to stretch ourselves. Now, as it relates to young adults that are leaving high school going into college, what advice would you have for them and their families?
My advice for young people leaving high school going to college and their parents, never give up. Always strive to do your very best. Some things may not happen right away, but stay on course. Have a goal, a plan, objective, all that small stuff. I tell some people, write it down. You don't have to share it. Whatever you want to do in life, write it down. And then write down the steps that it's going to take to do that. And just try to stay a course. Just try to stay a course. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to stumble. Everybody's going to fall. Nobody's perfect. So whatever it is, just try to do your best and never give up.
Yeah. And you mentioned, and when we first got on this live, and people may look at you and say, well, Coach got a nice vehicle and you coaching and da da da. But there's something else that you do too that allows you to be a part of the community and give back. And what is that trait that you got as it relates to your business?
Well, I have a barbershop and I cut hair, and I got two other great men that cut hair in my shop. And we see them come and go in the barbershop every day. Like, my barbershop stay popping, kids. Man, I be learning about the newest drugs.
Yeah.
I learn about the newest rap music. I be like, who was that rapper? Machine Gun, whatever, all kinds of people. Dolph got shot and killed. I just learned who he was the other day. And Lil Baby, all the people. I learned about the different rappers, the drugs, and it helps me because they tell me about perp and all that kind of people. They drinking perp. And I said, what's that? Coach is just like the lean. But that codeine cost service. Coach, you got good insurance. All you gotta do is just cough a little bit. You gotta get some cough service. I said, oh, no. I said, no, sir. And I get to talking to them about that type of stuff. But they also educate me on some things I need to look out for my players and my students.
Gotcha.
So and don't be afraid of these young people. Be honest with them. Talk to them.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed at the respect that you will get. But you want to be very consistent now. Don't have to pick and choose it. That's one thing I don't like about different coaches and people around the school, even outside of school. Don't get when you can talk to these groups because they got parents, mothers and dads at home. Either talk to them and not talk to the ones that really need the help over here that don't have that guidance.
Right.
See, and I can pick up on that, and I know these kids can pick up on it. They know you can't fool them now. They know. So my thing is let's approach and be visible and open to all the kids.
All of them. Yes.
No matter their circumstances.
Right. I like that. That don't play favorites. Treat all of them fair. Now, do you think it's easier to communicate with everybody with love and fairness? Because you said you talk to them and you learn something from them. When I say talk to them, I don't mean preaching at them, but just talking to them to get an understanding to see where they at, and then try to offer whatever advice you can versus just preaching to them. Do you feel like
that's what I always like to do. I always just just talk and not ask. I don't try to force anything because you learn. Because like I said, the barbershop, they come to me a lot of times, they ask questions, and then a lot of times everybody's not always open or upfront with you coming and trying to force stuff in them. So I tell you to pick an opportunity, be visible, and it will. I always say opportunity will permit itself. Yeah, it will permit itself in due time. In due time, permit itself. So, like I have a young man text me now, he said, "Hey, coach," I said, "I could throw a question mark. I always throw question marks, that I don't never know what may pop up all day."
Yeah.
He was like, "God normally cuts my hair. Can you mind cut the hair tomorrow?" I said, "Sure." Sometimes I tell him, "Sir, yes, sir." Anything. So then, another young man want to know, "Can I cut his hair tomorrow?" I said, "Yes, sir." So, but guess what? You leave an open relationship conversation that they're free to ask you those things. You don't ever want your child or your player or your student to be afraid of asking you something.
Right. Coming to you.
And God teaches us not to be in fear. Fear is a sin.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's the same thing for parents, right? You want your child, you want to have a relationship with your children to where they can come and talk to you about anything and not fear getting in trouble, not fear being shamed, not fear this and that, because that's what may happen in the community, in the school. They may fear getting talked about. So if they cannot come to you and be open about what they're going through so that you can provide an intervention and give some direction, I think that's a lose-lose for everybody. That's right. That's a lose-lose. That's a lose-lose. So I like the fact that you're doing that because they're so needed. You remind me of a coach that we grew up around that did so much for the community. Gave kids rides home. I mean, car be loaded down, leaning to the side with so many kids in there after practice that then their parents didn't come pick them up. He take them all home. I don't care if they live 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away. He made sure they get home. That's the kind of people and the representation that we need in our community. I think you said something great. Be visible. Anybody that's listening and watch this replay, one of the major takeaways for me is to be visible in the community. Like Yolanda said, opportunity will permit itself, just like Coach said. Wait for the opportunities, build a relationship, and wait for the opportunity to be able to plant that seed to engage. When farmers are farming, they plant collard greens at this time of year, turnips at this time of year, watermelons at this time of year. The opportunity will come if you just till the ground, building that relationship with young people, cultivating that relationship. The opportunity to come where you can plant that seed, man. I tell you what, they will listen. They will listen. Like you said, Coach, there's a learning curve, there's a connection curve and an engaging curve that is missing. And I hope that we can figure that out before it's too late. And like you said, our kids are shooting, they're engaging in violent activity, they're in drugs, they're involved in sexual things way too early. That's really taking away some valuable years in their life. And I just want them to be able to have a successful life, experience a successful life no matter what upbringing they had, and just let them know they can overcome. So any parting words for you to some young person who may see this video who feel like there's no hope for them?
If you got breath in your body, there's always hope, I tell him. I had a man come to my barbershop today. He come to the door, he's talking to somebody. And he's a 20-something-year-old man, early 20s. He's actually a sheriff. And I said, oh, young man. I said, you speak when you come in a room. He said, okay, I just saw him first. So my thing is, if you got, and I tell you, he said, I'm here. I may not be blessed, but I'm here. That's what he told me. I'm going to repeat that. He said, I may not be blessed, but I'm here. I said, oh, wait a minute. I said,
yeah.
You here?
You blessed.
I said, look, you're a healthy young man. You got a job. You got your gun on your side. I said, let me tell you something. There's a lot of people not healthy or not blessed that are looking at your situation and say, Lord, I wish I was in his shoes or trade shoes. I said, you know how many people that would trade plays with you? He said, Coach, you right. I take that back. I'll bless. I just want a little bit more. I said, that sounds a little bit better. I said, that sounds a little bit better. I said, we go to the children's hospital. We go to the regular hospital, council place. We go to the orphan, the homeless. I said, a lot of places, a lot of people would go see a lot worse than you, young man. And he said, you're right. So if you watch it and you got hope because you watch it. You're able to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, that's hope alone. So, and for grown people, you don't always have to be a lawyer, doctor, or teacher, or big up on your job to learn. You can obtain knowledge from the kids, people in your community. Always be willing to obtain knowledge, and get out to these young people, find out what they're doing. Like we said earlier, be visible. Doing your child room help clean up. Sit at the table help clean up. Like my little boy, he 2 years old. I get on to him now. I got him in time out, so he cutting up. Come on, boy. Yeah, so he got that. But and I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be through. When you got your child, because some people say, oh, I know what I'm talking about my child. That's how parents do. He ain't got to tell you about my child. I know my child. Whatever. You mean the man was going to the police station picking your child up? You know how many people I know pick their child from the police station in the last 3-4 weeks? A lot of them. A lot of them. Now, and people say, Coach, you get them boys, you get them on the neck, and you holler at them. They said, what's up with them live shoes? You be stomping. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody in the gym hear you. You better football field yelling. He said, them cheering, they gonna jump on you, Coach. I said, nah. I said, I'm a good fool. They said, why you say that? I said, I'm a good fool Monday through Sunday. I said, I ain't just this way. I'm a good fool at practice. They know me. I said, they know they used to it. I said, these kids, I tell you what, you come out here, you jump in the shoe have, they gonna jump on you.
Right. So, they know your heart.
Don't wait till your child way up here bigger than you here to try to talk some sense into you. You better do it now. You better help go clean their room when they 2 years old. Always, if you clean their room when they 2, you helping them. You sit down. When they get to be 10, you doing the same thing. When they get to be 18 years old, it ain't no strange. You've been doing it. You've been doing it. So if you haven't been doing it, now I encourage you, parents or community people, start be visible in your child's life.
Yeah, I like that. Be visible. We definitely got to be visible. We got to show up, and we got to show up big time. Hey, listen, Coach Moore, man, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on this platform. Please keep doing what you're doing in the area that you're doing it in, being an active role model in those young people's lives, being an active participant in your community. I said this on my platform yesterday. I don't want to just be a resident of the city I live in. I want to be a contributor. And I
like that.
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody to contribute to your community, show up in your community, add value to your community. We always wondering, what can we do? When is it going to change? How can it change? It's going to change when all of us, if it's 50,000 people in your city, in your area, all 50,000 people got to show up and contribute. This is, and think about this too, Ro. The police will tell you, if you ask any police officer, like, who do y'all spend the bulk of your time focusing on? And they'll tell you 90% of their time they spend on 10% of the population. 90% of their time is focused on 10% of the population. So how is it that 10% of the population can raise hell when what are the other 90% doing to help law enforcement out with just that 10%?
Now you're talking. That's some knowledge. That's some knowledge.
You see what I'm saying?
Are your other 90% helping out?
You know, because it's somebody in that
10%.
Yeah, because somebody in that 10% may be your nephew, your cousin, your son, your daughter. Somebody in that 10%, you know. You understand what I'm saying? We all know we got somebody in that 10% that we need to be pulling to the side and say, listen, man, come on. Like this right here, we can't keep going down this path because if either that or don't complain about when they hide you for 50 years. Don't complain about that. Don't complain about when you go on a vacation so long you don't even come out and know what's going on. Don't complain about that. You know, we can't have one and not want the other. So we gotta keep showing up. Again, be visible in your community. Be visible in your children's lives. Show up at their events. Even if you don't have kids, go to the local basketball games. Go to the football games. Pay just to get in the game so the boosters can have funds to have things for the young people in those programs. Don't be a resident and not be a contributor. You know, that's almost like living and not living. You know, so again, everybody that's watching, everybody that's tuned in, hey, thank you all. We're gonna keep bringing y'all good content, good people that are people in their community. This ain't somebody, you know, that lives in Hollywood. This is somebody that's grassroots. Coach Moore, we went to school together. He had a plan for his life, and he went out there and he made it happen for himself. And like he said, he done coached from 1A all the way up to 6A, and he done won a state championship. I seen something he posted the other day. He just blowing schools out down there. I don't know what he's doing down there. I got to come down there and check him out. But Coach, keep doing what you're doing. I see the handsome guy there. I'm gonna let you get him straight.
We do a YouTube channel, Coach Funny channel, so he probably ready to do a video. So
he's ready. Yeah. What's your channel, Coach? What's your channel, Coach, so we can check you out?
Coach Funny channel.
Yeah, Coach Moore got a channel on YouTube called Coach Funny Channel where he brings some laughter and some of the stuff that he's doing as a coach. So again, thank everybody for tuning in. Coach Moore, thank you for participating. And we'll get back with you later, man. Y'all take care. Peace out. What you doing? You join the grad chapter of the campus?
What?
You join the grad chapter of the campus? Is that what you're doing?
No.